Okay, launching into the game. Let me know if there are any issues with the stream or the sound or the scoreboard or whatever. Especially if I do get a co-caster at some point and the sound levels are imbalanced between me and them, or they're too quiet or whatever. Blind Random has given us Archipelago by the looks of it, which is a map where the players can either be on different islands or on the same island. This is a very, very rarely played map actually. You don't see this map very often at all. So it's nice to see a game from that. I was actually just looking to see if these sheep were bugged, but there is just a very, very thin sandbar. Those sheep will be able to move along that one tile. Hopefully Nimanoe explores it and realises that they're there. That could be quite disadvantageous for him if he doesn't come back to that area and he just assumes that the shore, that's just shoreline there and there's no more sort of like spit of land here. This sheep might find it. Anyway, whilst we wait to see if he does that, we'll have a look at the civilizations. And wow, that is quite big. John the Late in the red at the top of the map has been given Vikings on a map which is heavily water based. That's really quite a big thing here. Obviously Vikings the #1 water civilization by quite a big distance. He's going to have a cheaper dock to get his fishing up. He's going to have cheaper ships. And that's going to matter quite a lot because water control equals map control on this map. There's a very narrow spit of land here. It's you know, it's half a dozen tiles wide, so you can get some land units through. You can put some buildings there. There's enough space to fortify this with a castle, but still, water control going to be huge on this map in terms of map control. And in fact, with this small amount of sand here, it's quite possible that those galleys from John the Late would actually be able to get all the way around the back here and into this back lake, because I think that sand is narrow enough. On the top part, again, galleys should be able to cross that sandbar. So it's a bit of a weird map generation where the edges of the map were almost closed off but not quite, and then we're going to maybe see some galleys crossing sand. But let's have a look at what Nimanoe was given. Nimanoe at the bottom of the map in blue, given Byzantines. They're an okay civ, but really they've got no advantages for water. You can do quite a lot with them, and obviously cheap trash also always gives you a bit of a fighting chance. But really they've got no standout advantages on a map like this. So definitely John the Late has done better with the civilizations. Let's look at the maps. It's not too much to say. It seems like most of Nimanoe's resources are pretty well protected from water harassment, apart from perhaps this stone. It looks like galleys could eventually get all the way around here as well to there, which means the wood line could be harassed a little bit. But really, villagers here, this woodline's not going to be too harassable from the water. However, these resources are quite at risk from archers, towers, things like that later on the land. John the Late's map, gold not as good in terms of being harassed from the water, and again it's quite forward, so it could be harassed by land army from Nimanoe coming forwards. Not sure what the 11s are about by Nimanoe there, but it seems John the Late lost a villager as he was luring his boy in, even though he had loom, unless it kicked in just before. Yeah, the 11 may have been to do with the fact that he was trying to push deer from around that side of the forest. I'm not sure if he actually ever intended to push too many of them. It would have been very difficult. So John the Late has gone for a dock in the northern part of the map. This is where I was hoping from his point of view he would dock, because the fishing here is fantastic. And it would be quite easy to sort of defend this part of the map from galleys coming from Nimanoe, and in all likelihood Nimanoe is going to dock on the right hand side, so this is a very safe area. He could afford to add a couple of extra fishing ships in this top area if he wanted to quite early on. But it looks like John the Late is going to come forward with two. He's just going for the wall off. Nothing more aggressive than that. But obviously that forward wall is quite nice. Secures his second forward stone mine. Secures a relic and means that he can, in all likelihood, put a little bit more pressure on Nimanoe than if Nimanoe had walled in at the other end. And in fact, given his positioning of this gold in his second stone, it was much more important for him to get that wall a bit further forward than to have it back here, because he would have been at risk of losing some resources otherwise. Nimanoe's scout trapped out on this side of the map for now. It has lower HP than John the Late, so he really doesn't want to be getting into a fight with John the Late's scout, but he's going to retreat. He'll have to micro well to keep that alive and continue to gather scouting information with it later on. Something else I haven't touched on yet, there is a island over to the left here with the extra gold, so winning water control is going to be quite useful. Both players do have two very big gold mines and two very big stone mines, so they should have resources lasting for quite some time, but if the game goes long enough, those golds could be something that the players will contest, and they could have some element of being decisive. There's also onto the stone mine over here, where that's not quite as important. With the amount of stone that both players have, that'll be enough for a few castles. I don't think people will be too desperate to be getting that extra stone. It won't be too much of a priority. It looks like John the Late has 4 relics though. There's one over here, so that's 2 on the right, 1 on the left, and 1 in the middle spit of land. So that forward wall from John the Late really securing him a bit of an advantage in terms of the relics. Now John the Late going to be reaching the feudal age in about 30 seconds of game time. He's adding a second dock far away from his first one. Yes, it's Archipelago, and these matches are, this particular tournament is blind random for this particular game 1 of the set, and then for the map, and then the civilizations are completely random. Those are very unusual settings. It's only because it's Noobs of AoC, and that it's an attempt to sort of mirror what you get on standard rated, casual rated games in the NPL or the lower reaches of the medieval siege ladders. So returning to what I was saying, John the Late adding more docks near to Nimanoe's goat, wants to go aggressive with those. I don't know whether he'll also produce galleys out of the back dock as well, or if he'll continue to add fishing ships there and try and fish boom off that whilst protecting the route to that area with galleys from the front. Given that he's Vikings, he can probably afford to, well, not necessarily afford to, but he'll have a bit more better time producing off fewer docks, perhaps. Sorry, using 1 dock to produce fishing ships and another one to produce galleys, compared to, because his ships will be cheaper and he can make more docks for less wood. And indeed, he's adding a 4th dock already, so he's going to have 2 on each side of the map. I don't think he's going to be able to produce galleys from all of those straight away, although he has transitioned into a very heavy grush economy with wood and gold, so I'm not sure about whether he will be able to do that or not, but it's certainly going to give him the ability to produce ships in all parts of the map wherever he needs them, although he might have a little bit of difficulty grouping them up. Nimanoe went up to the feudal age very late though. He's reaching the feudal age at 16 minutes, and on a map like this, that's borderline suicide if you want to protect your fishing economy. Those fishing ships all going idle, and whilst they're idle, they may as well be dead, because they're not serving any purpose, and they're probably going to get picked off at some point because they can't return to the docks that they were based at. And John the Late also taking water control on the left hand side. Nimanoe so late up to feudal age that he's just not able to get any number of galleys out. He is going to try that, but I don't think John the Late's going to let him back on the water. Even now, it seems like the the water has been decided in favour of the Vikings player. Returning to these sheep, as we saw at the start, we thought, is Nimanoe going to find them? Turns out he hasn't done. And that's so unlucky. He's even found the sandbar, but didn't go quite far enough along it. There's a 2x2 patch of tiles. Continuing to garrison galleys in the dock on the right and trying to produce some on the left, but they're getting scythed down by the greater numbers of John the Late. And producing just from one dock on the right isn't really going to allow him to garrison many, and indeed he seems to have ceased production for now on that side, realising the numbers are just too great. He's going to maybe try and scout out with that galley, see if he can find the fish of John the Late, but the fishing of John the Late is so well protected. This northern corner of the map provides really great fishing, and it was always going to be so easy for him to keep that fishing economy alive up there. Unless Nimanoe went super heavy on the water and pushed out up to that part of the map, Nimanoe's fishing ship's still doing nothing. I am going to be intrigued to see later on if when John gets War Galley and +2, whether he, or even like Galleon and +3 later on, if he comes here and tries to harass. It would be quite. Oh, he's found that. Yeah, he's found the way through. He's even found Nimanoe's sheep, which he's probably chuckling to himself at this point now. Even the galley did a little bit of a double take, and he is going to be able to attack some villagers from the shore with that galley. This vulnerability in Nimanoe's map has been discovered by John the Late now, and he will try to make something of it, but with it he would need more than one galley there to deny that market. Nimanoe starting to put up houses around his sort of island. It's not, it's not really his own island because it's one big island, but you know what I mean. His area of the map. Obviously, it's a good idea to do that on water maps to guard against landings. Putting up some radar houses, not rainbow houses, and if you get town watch later on, you've got an amazing line of sight. Nimanoe doesn't seem too pleased with this play, saying that he's reinventing Titanic. But John the Late says he's been housed all the time. So at the moment, the villager counts are more or less the same as both players. Well, they are the same as both players go to the Castle Age. But the problem is that John the Late has 10 fishing ships working off deep fish, and has had that for the entirety of the game, continuing to add fishing ships in that safe northern fishing area. Whereas Nimanoe's fish have been idle, and now seem to have been destroyed. So really that means John the Late's economy is going to be vastly superior to Nimanoe's. Byzantines do get Freetown Watch, yes that's right, I hadn't thought about that when I said that, but yeah, with the Freetown Watch those houses on the shore will obviously be providing greater line of sight immediately. Nimanoe is managing to sneak a couple of galleys into John the Late's fishing and idle it, which is quite nice for him, but you would suggest that the damage from has been done in an economy sense, in the fact that John the Late's fishing ships have been working for so long. It's not always nice though to get rid of them and prevent John the Late from gaining any further advantage by having all those fishing ships working. John the Late's moves on a reaching Castle Age, obviously War Galley and Bodkin Arrow to help solidify his control of the water and to allow him to gain more map control through the increased range and damaged bombarding from the shore. It's always quite difficult to play when you've got these galleys just chipping away at the edge of your base and meaning confining you to a small inland area, from a psychological perspective as well. John the Late throwing up his second town centre as well. Nimanoe's will go up slightly earlier, but that's not going to have a huge impact. However, Nimanoe is going to put a third one up, but I'm not sure about this positioning. Can't really make many farms around it, and it's going to be vulnerable to the shore. John comes around this left hand side. I think he can bring galleys right to here, even to here, because they're pretty sure they can transverse that sand there. And Nimanoe's island is just looking so vulnerable at this point. He's going to be surrounded by galleys, and really I think the only way he's going to be able to gain the map control to push out in any way at all is if he puts a castle up somewhere, perhaps here once he's cleared the trees away, so he can start to push through the middle, and then maybe another castle. But really, if John the Lake will be able to concentrate so much fire from both sides of this narrow strip of land, this narrow isthmus, that if Nimanoe is going to get back into this game, it's going to be extremely difficult for him to push out across there. John the Lake is starting to just abuse this ability of the war galleys to traverse the sandbar more and more. No, just looking at the chat, this is the Age of Empires 2, the Conquerors expansion CD version from way back in 2000, I think it was, the game came out, and maybe the Conquerors expansion was 2001. Being played on Voobly, using something called User Patch 1.4, which enables things like widescreen functionality and various different game features to make the game more user-friendly in the modern era. So for anyone who's watching the game and likes what they see, you can head to Voobly and play the game there, providing you've got a copy of the original CD version, or you download HD. There's a from Steam. There's a compatibility patch you can use to play on Voobly with. John the Lake's starting to collect the relics on the right hand side. As I said before, he's got 4 relics in his area of the map. This one's sort of contested, but he's maybe be able to push out and get that. Nimanoe's starting to go for an army of crossbows and mangonels to try and apply some pressure to this forward part of the John the Lake's base. He's trying to apply pressure to his wall. If he goes to the Imperial Age and uses and upgrades Onagers, that will be somewhat effective against the ships. Sorry, I was momentarily distracted by T90 letting me know that he's not going to come and join me, so I may be on my own for the entirety of the stream if my own cast doesn't come. John the Lake, recognising that Nimanoe is going to start applying some pressure to this middle part of the map. It's fairly limited pressure considering he's losing quite a lot of what he's got to the ships. As I said, the amount of fire that you can bring from both sides of this isthmus from the water is quite massive. But even so, he's just going to be safe and try and take control of the middle area with a castle, and that's going to allow him to push out with trebuchets in the Imperial Age. And he's even going for a second castle right in the middle of Nimanoe's economy. Is going to be able to deny so much wood income, force Nimanoe to move to another vulnerable wood line. Like this sort of area is about the only wood he's be able to safely take if that castle goes up. And really, I don't know what Nimanoe can do to stop it. Looks like he's got maybe one more mangonel garrisoned in there, but that's going to do nothing with all these galleys around. And Nimanoe's finally doing war galleys. He wants to retake the water on the left-hand side, but John the Lake's galleys are there. He's spread his galleys quite nicely in this game, meaning that he can harass from all the way around. And really, retaking the water is possibly Nimanoe's only chance. Even then, I don't think it would have done too much with John the Lake pushing forward with castles. But as soon as John the Lake spotted that, Nimanoe knew it was over. John the Lake being very gracious in victory and saying that it was a civ win. But I think he played the map better because Nimanoe got up to the feudal age even at sort of 16 minutes, which is so slow. Doesn't matter what your civ is, you can't be doing that on a water map. He was lucky with these 2 sheep, but that shouldn't make the most enormous difference. I'm going to look at achievements before I quit, after I missed that last time. See John the Lake with many more villagers. helped that he wasn't being harassed from the shore, but he had such better fishing economy and food economy to get a good boom going on the land. And I think obviously John the Late also killing so much more, doing much better in the water and then picking stuff up on the land. I need to back out quickly because the second game is starting.